Hey there, I'm George Toby, photographer, filmmaker, entrepreneur, and fellow creative to many of you, and welcome to Coffee and Creatives. This podcast is for coffee drinkers and creative thinkers, those who love to enjoy a good cup of coffee as well as great conversation. Each week, I sit down with artists, entrepreneurs, and makers to talk about the real creative process, what inspires them, what challenges them, and what keeps them going. So if you're into creativity, coffee, and honest conversation, come and hang out with us on Coffee and Creatives.
What's up, everybody? Thanks again for joining us here on Coffee and Creatives. We're going to dive right into this week's episode with special guest, Tim Hutchison. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for calling me special.
Yeah.
Do you call everybody a special guest?
I don't know. I think I'll have to look back and see. But
I better be the only one.
I would say you're, other than Hadley, probably one of my favorite having it on. Just because for a lot of those who don't know, I learned pretty much a lot of what I do, whether that is good or bad, from Tim.
I won't bring anything up.
So before we roll into kind of like our chat for today, I'm going to ask you 3 questions that I ask everybody that comes on. And it is, I guess the first question we already answered, but what's your name? Mm-hmm. What do you do? Mm-hmm. And what is your perspective into our relationship?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do it right to you, or do you want me to do it to the camera?
Yeah, just chat with me.
Do it to you. Okay. My name is Tim Hutchison. I'm a freelance director of photography, cinematographer. Kind of been in the industry freelance for 13 or 14 years now. And my relationship with George is, I remember meeting George when he was just a tiny, small little man wanting to learn, very eager to learn, cameras. And I can't even remember exactly what you were doing before you started doing. You were doing it. You're a bus driver. You're doing all sorts of random stuff. But it was earlier in that
maybe
construction. Yeah. So like really like a hard rebrand into the creative world. And I remember just your eagerness to learn, get hands-on experience. And yeah, I was kind of part of the early parts of that.
Yeah, I would say you're a huge part of where I've gained a lot of my starting points. And even now, I mean, I still chat with you quite often about mainly new gear and your advice. And then your advice is always telling me not to buy it.
Don't buy gear.
Because I just want to buy new gear.
That's all that I'm going to say over and over again today to anybody
It did
listening.
take me a long time, but I did get pretty good at utilizing all of my gear until I literally could not anymore.
Yep. That's a good way to do it.
I only recently upgraded a lot of gear over the last 2 years. So for at least 5 years, I had the same gear. I feel like that's a good.
That is good. 5 years is a good
time frame.
Yep.
So, but Canon makes it really hard to not want to buy new gear with all the new stuff they've been releasing. It makes it tricky.
Yeah, and there's just so much.
There's always so much.
So much, and everything is good now.
Everything. There's no brand that's not good. Like whether you pick even Nikon now, Nikon, Sony, Canon.
I don't know if we need to go that far.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of their new cameras are pretty top.
The thing that I found with Nikons that's really, really, really great is if I'm ever like fishing, like especially like outdoor stuff, like doing stuff in the canoe, like if I find myself like in a canoe and like it gets a bit windy and the canoe's getting blown around, I just tie it to the Nikon to a rope and just kind of throw it overboard. And like it'll usually catch pretty good.
Yeah.
And that usually stops
those
my
big
canoe.
900 millimeters. Just
yeah. That usually stops my canoe from like floating around.
From floating around. So we're going to kind of chat about your journey through the industry, through creative, and just kind of ask some questions about what that's all been like for you. And we'll kind of kick it off with like, what first started your passion for getting into whatever, like what did you first get into when you started doing stuff within the creative field? Was it right into like video? Was it right into photo? Like where did that all kind of start from?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been kind of doing video as long as I remember. And I think a big part of that was growing up in a small town where there was not a lot to do, but we had this group of friends that were just like, we had access to like these old HD cam tapes, or not HD cam, like high 8, like these old mic or mini DV cameras.
Yeah.
And we would go out around the town and we would make skateboarding videos because we were like sure that like if we like hit like a 3-pack on our like skateboard, we would like get sponsored by Trans World
You blow
and
up.
just like yeah, and that was it. We wanted the wide lens and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and we just wanted that. We were terrible, and I was too afraid to skateboard, so I was the dorky friend on rollerblades, but I was always the one holding the camera. So it kind of started in that world. And then another big part of it, and this is something that I'll hold on to and tell people, is like, I personally, I've never, ever made a PowerPoint presentation in my life.
Really?
Even all through school, none of that. And it was because I always would ask the teachers and convince them to let me make videos. So it's like,
Okay.
for any project that was like, oh yeah, you need to make a presentation. I was like, well, what if I just make you like a 5-minute like story, like a video? And it's just like all through high school, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. Like we would be editing stuff in like Windows Movie Maker where like you couldn't even like export videos and you had to like hook it up to like a DVD player and somehow loop it in to put it on a DVD. And then I'd walk into class and be like, you got to pull the TV out because I got this DVD.
Here's my project.
It's like, this is my project. And I'd be like the one guy in class. Yeah. They would be like, all right, get the friggin' TV for Tim. But through that, it's just like, I just remember learning how to like edit and learn how to like cut sequences together and do like coverage out as far as like, oh, it's like if I need to shoot this angle, it's like, well then if somebody's leaving a house, it's like I have to cover it from this, and then you cut them together and suddenly you have this sequence. And it's just purely just by like doing it that I kind of ended up in it.
Was there a moment through all of that you kind of clicked that, hey, I could like do this, like I could do this for a living, like I could go to school, I can make a career out of this? Like,
well, I think that a big part of it was like I had a really, really great like visual arts teacher in high school, and one thing that he did that happened that transitioned while I was in high school was he actually introduced like a digital photography class in school, which was really cool. And I remember my parents bought me like a Canon Rebel XT. I remember spending like $190 on a 1 gigabyte SD card that could like store like 30 photos or whatever.
Crazy.
And we would and that's just like what I had, and being able to have that in my hand and this old like 24 to 105. It's just like I just did everything with it, and suddenly just like dove into this world of like trying to take pictures, and like having a teacher who was really good at like, I think saw potential in me, and really good at just like encouraging me in that. So I think that really helped. I think it also helped like when I was in high school, it's like, and I come from a family that everyone went to university and everyone's really, really smart. And I just I just was not a school, like I was not a school kid. Like I just couldn't care less. And I was like, I'm going to be a physiotherapist and like I'm going to kinesiology at Laurier, and then I'm going to, hence the hat. And I was like, and then I'm just going to like do gym for the rest of my life, and it'll be so fun. Cause that was the other thing that I liked, was doing sports and activities or whatever. But I just like was not smart enough to do it. So I was like, much to my parents' dismay, I was like, let's try giving arts, let's try giving media arts, let's try giving film school a shot. And then like somehow managed to get in. Coming out of high school, and that's just kind of where I went.
That's really cool. That's like very similar to how my kind of journey like through high school was. I was very much, I just hated everything school related, and I felt like school was never really set up to help me as someone, now looking back, as someone who's become a creative, and like where I wanted to be a very like entrepreneurial, and there was really nothing in high school for me that kind of like helped shape that. So for me, when I met you, that was kind of like the moment for me where I was like, oh, I could actually do this. There's actually somebody who I could actually learn this from without going to school.
Yeah.
Which is kind of two sides.
And I think I was just like really lucky in the sense that when I started, like digital cameras were very, very new and very archaic. Like that was like 2005.
Yeah.
So like years and years and years ago. So being able to get access to something that actually like worked, and you could actually like see in real time what you were creating. I think was a huge advantage. And then having people that would just like put things in my hands and trust me with it, and then I could just use it. That was great.
How did that feel when you made your first ever project? Like if you can think back, whether it was high school or university.
Like how did what feel? Like
How did just the process of that feel to kind of like from start to finish see an entire project like for the first time?
Yeah, here's my thing is like, and like for it to be good, it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It's just like I'm never 100% satisfied with the final of anything that I do, and I don't think that that's necessarily because like of like a pride issue, or like a false humility, but it's just like I tend to look at stuff that I've created and then think about like, okay, like how could I have done that differently or better next time, and then try to take those ideas and things that I've learned and implement them into the next one. So it's like, I don't know, I just love the process. It's like I don't love when things end. It's just like I just love the process of actually creating.
Yeah.
So
It's almost like you could stay in the creating process the whole time would be the
yeah,
best.
yeah, and that's just where I think that I thrive. Like I don't really edit. Like that's not really my thing, and it's just like I think because of that, I never get too attached to the final project. Product.
Yeah. I feel like that's a similar thing for creatives. Like I feel like there's never really a project that you complete and you're like, I'm 100% satisfied with that. There's nothing that I would change. Because I think it's not a matter of like, oh, I would change this because something wasn't good. It was I would change this because I can make it better.
Yeah.
I can
And
try
it's like,
new
and I think that's
things.
part of just learning, right? It's
Yeah.
just like if you feel like you're like, oh well, after this I am never ever going to do anything better, then it's like I think that that's a disadvantage to yourself.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways to learn. And again, to the point of why I started this podcast is I got stuck in a rhythm of like finding a rhythm to certain things and then just doing it over and over to where now I'm like, let's find fresh and new ways to do that and new creatives, and having all these conversations has been incredible for that. And so I want to chat a little bit about kind of your process through university and then into a professional career in it.
Sure.
What did that kind of look like? What did that kind of like journey look like through that?
Yeah. So again, it's like I went to Sheridan College, not university. I wasn't smart enough to do- Yeah.
Couldn't quite get the university.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
90s.
Yeah, exactly. And that was back in 2008 that I would have gone. 2007 or 2008. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I was 17 when I went. So I was like pretty small.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. Like, here's the thing is, I think for me, looking back at it, I think that it was good that I went because I was able to get hands-on experience with a lot of gear that I would never like touch otherwise. Like that was back then before like mirrorless cameras.
Yeah.
Like anything that shot anything of good quality was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And was there anything back then that you could rent? Like now you could pretty much, oh, I want to test a camera, I want to test something new, you rent it anywhere.
Yeah, like I mean there was rental houses, but it was like nothing was accessible. Like it wasn't anything that like you as a 17-year-old would have access to.
Right.
Like it's like if you're going to rent something, it's like you're renting some crazy like Panaflex camera or like something that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And if you want to make anything that's of decent quality or of the quality of what we were watching, it was just inaccessible. But like when I was in school, like I shot my thesis film for school, like on tape.
Oh, wow.
Like on HD cam tape on an F800, which at the time was like, oh, this is what they shot.
Yeah.
Star Wars episode, whatever, the one with Jar Jar Binks or something like that. It was just like, but that's what we shot on. It was this long.
Yeah.
And it was $1 trillion.
That's crazy.
And it was hard to use and massive. So it was like, but just in like the time that like from when I started school where it's like, okay, it's like, we had just like our school had just bought the first red, like the red one, the first red one. And then the rest of it, we had like these wacky old cameras.
Yeah.
But by the time I graduated, like the 5D Mark II had just come out and it was like, okay, all of a sudden it was like, there was this switch to being like, okay, you can start shooting these like tiny little cameras, and you can get
Yeah.
actual depth of field on your stuff, and like you can hack these cameras with Magic Lantern or whatever it is and shoot this stuff, and the cameras would just like blow up because they were so hot.
Yeah.
But it was like there was such a huge change in just that 3 years that by the time I came out of school, the industry was already so different than when I had started just 3 years prior. So so yeah, it's like that kind of made like I learned a lot more in like the year and a half coming out of school into my internship than I ever did actually being in it.
And did you go right into an internship, or did you have any time where you were kind of like trying to make it like freelance per se, and then doing other work at the same time, or were you like 100% right?
Basically, the way that it worked was like the last half of our third year was like a co-op term, and I got lucky enough to get involved with a really small team here in Kitchener-Waterloo, actually.
Yeah.
Where the owner was just like, would just essentially was like, you are now the director of photography of this company. And I was like, well, nice. I freaking don't know. Like, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I shot a ton of stuff, tons of stuff. And like over like, I think it was like a year and a half that I was there, like 2 feature films and like 100 commercials. And we were doing competition videos and winning tens of thousands of dollars shooting stuff, and it was all stuff that I was shooting and lighting. So it was like I never really had that like journey of like the camera trainee to like the third, second, first camera operator, DP. Like I never really had that journey. I was just like immediately just like immersed in this world of being a director of photography, essentially, even though I was hugely underqualified to do it. But I was lucky that somebody trusted me with that position and gave me a lot of opportunity to make mistakes and just shoot so much. Yeah,
that's amazing. And over the years of that, of going through that high school to college to into the workforce and into that professional industry, how do you feel your style as a creative in terms of shooting shifted over that time? Do you feel like it shifted in positive ways, negative ways? Like, obviously it got better, I would say, probably.
Yeah, I think that it's not even like I feel like I have a style that I've held on to so tightly for so long. I feel like what I've been interested in shooting has changed. Like I felt like when I was in my internship and in school, and even when I was going through like school, it was like narrative. It was just like everybody wants to do narrative. It's like you would see if we had like 60 people in our program, like 7 of them would be in documentary, and you're like, oh, they're the smart ones. They're kind of like the nerdy ones and whatever. I mean, in retrospect, it's like I think that the people in the documentary made the best decision doing that, and that's what I wish that I had actually gone back and done. I wish I had the foresight to go back and do that, because that's the world that I'm in now.
Yeah, right.
It's like I had this like hard shift of thinking that I was going to shoot these massive feature films and have these theatrical screenings, to being introduced into the world of documentary and storytelling and getting into the worlds of people that I'd never met before, and getting this really intimate look into people's lives. And I just like got really excited about that and shot some really, really cool stuff, and just found myself in spaces and in rooms that I never thought that I would ever be in. And it was so cool.
Yeah. And I think there's something very special about that, about being a part of those journeys with people, especially when it comes to those documentary style stuff, where it's like you're really getting, like, you're being creative in it and you're shooting this, but you're also like creating this new type of kind of, I'm trying to think of the word, like in depth. Like even when I watch documentaries at home, I'm like, this is so cool to watch. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be on set.
Yeah. And it's like, there's so many neat things that happen off camera behind the scenes, and so many relationships that you make that you hold on to. But there's also this amazing moment, and a lot of this comes from working with really, really good directors, but there's these amazing moments where the wall comes down between your subject and your camera, and you essentially just become this like this unit that moves together, and they're comfortable enough to talk about things, and it's your responsibility as the director of photography in those to be able to create spaces they feel comfortable in, but
Yeah.
also look good,
Right.
to be able to open up and have conversations. So I think that there's a really,
Mhm.
really like amazing responsibility with being a documentary filmmaker, where it's equal parts stewarding relationship and creating,
Mhm.
and creating really good looking visuals. And I would say that even the stewarding the relationship is like 80% of like the importance of creating a
Yeah.
documentary. And you can see that in final products. You can see when
Mhm.
people open up and shut down. And again, it's like I've been in really, really crazy rooms and really crazy situations that I would never put myself in
Mhm.
normally. But being able to just like hunker down with the camera and be like, okay, this
Yeah.
moment that we're in is a special moment. Let's try to make it look beautiful, but
Mhm.
let's just also make sure that like we capture this the way that it deserves to be captured.
Mhm. What's like a most recent project that you worked on that you would say you kind of had that feeling of like, this is something really special? Like just something that was just like above the normal, that just really stood out to you when you were on set and you're filming, and you're just like, this is something that's like just out of the ordinary, like super special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of ones that I can talk about because some of them aren't actually out yet.
Oh, you gotta censor it.
Yeah.
Well, I know one recently you did. I don't know if this would fall under, but you recently did one. I don't know if this would kind of fall under that, but with working with dogs.
Yeah, that
I don't
was.
know
I
if
mean,
that is like,
that was almost more narrative because that was a commercial.
Yeah.
But I think in the documentaries, again, it's like so. I had last year, or maybe it was at the beginning of this. No, it was last year. I had worked on a pilot where we went down to Florida for a week, and we were working with somebody who was an ex-convict. And we spent a week down in Florida just following this person around and kind of getting into their world to like discover the growth and trauma and stuff that comes after being incarcerated,
Yeah.
and kind of following their journey of reintegration into society.
Yeah.
And I was down there working with a really, really amazing director and working with another cinematographer. And yeah, we found ourselves in some like really, really crazy places and some really crazy rooms and situations that are just like, were just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But again, it's like us there as the documentary crew. It's like, yes, we're there to get a story, and be able to like turn that into a project that hopefully eventually like goes to air.
Yeah.
But it was like at the end of this like 6 days, it's like, okay, it's like we all went into battle together, like with this subject, and we were able to really help them process through and even in a short time, like 6 days, it's like we were able to process through a lot of trauma, and I feel like we really came out actually helping them in the end. So that was pretty special.
Wow, that's really cool. Is that something that's airing or coming?
It's a secret.
Coming at some point.
That's a
It's coming at some point. It must.
Hopefully, it's coming at some point.
Hopefully on Netflix.
Yeah, maybe.
Tim, the new director of photography for Netflix.
Yeah, maybe.
How would you say over the years, maybe let's say over the last 10 years, would you describe the industry has changed in terms of how things are kind of done, in terms of like shooting and editing and kind of like the freelance world and just like?
Well, I think that it's a really amazing time, and I'm really like jealous that it wasn't like this when I started, that the ability to have access to affordable stuff that looks really, really good is just like so wide.
Yeah.
It was just like like you can just like for a very small amount of money, you can go and you can build out a camera kit or have your phone or whatever, and you can shoot top tier quality stuff that looks way better than the stuff that I shot even 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
At a much more accessible rate. So I think that that's really amazing. I think there's a lot of really, really amazing creators out there doing stuff. and really grasping on to that technology.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really cool. I think that there's a huge push for, I don't know, I just think that the content landscape has changed so much in 10 years. Like, it's like every single streaming service seems to be like pushing subscribers, getting things that you want, and now it's like turning kind of like back into cable, where it's like I have to have these 9 streaming services. Oh, it's like I want to watch this one season of Landman. It's like, well, I gotta get Amazon Prime Extra Plus. I'm just like, I already paid, and it's just like, anyways, that's just like a whole other thing. But yeah, there's yeah, man, it's changed so much. For me, a thing that I think is really interesting is I've been consuming a lot of content, like long form content on YouTube,
right?
Which is like more of like a channel driven storytelling stuff. And people are making amazing videos about like, and I just find myself getting into watching these videos about like a couple Jeeps doing like an overland trip up to like the top of a mountain in BC or whatever. And it's just like, it's so cool to watch and it's so interesting, and it's true like raw documentary kind of format. And a lot of it looks really amazing, which is cool. So yeah, I think that that's one place that I could speak to that I think has changed a lot. Another one is, I think that there's this interesting shift where brands now are shifting to less brand focused content and more personality storytelling, and finding people and finding stories that represent their brand rather than putting products directly in your face. And I think that's really cool. Like, I think Yeti is doing a really cool job of doing that kind of stuff right now. Volvo is one that I reference a lot, as far as like just making really stunning content. So I think that that's really cool. And I think that that's this beautiful merge of commercial and documentary storytelling.
I love that. And what would be a piece of advice that you would want to give to somebody if there was somebody and they're like, well, I'm looking at, maybe getting into, film documentary and then DP, and like they're kind of like debating that world and those steps of either school or finding somebody to work alongside. What would be like your best piece of advice to give them to like start that journey and that process?
Yeah, I think that, okay, here's my thing. And like, this might be like a touch controversial, but like generally I tell people, I'm like, hey, you don't need to go to like an actual physical school to be able to get taught the stuff that you can learn now to be able to do that. What you will get is you will learn how to work as a team and interact with people, which I would say is equally, if not more important than actually the technical skill set, is like actually having the ability to work with people, because you need that. And I think that there's a lot of solo shooters out there now, and that's great. And I think that there's a market for that. But at the end of the day, if you want to work on larger stuff, you actually have to be a decent human being and know how to talk to people. Which is an experience that you can get from being able to put yourself out of your comfort zone, go to school, meet people. I feel like that can almost just kind of encourage a bit of the entrepreneurial spirit that you need to be able to run a successful business doing this, unless you just want to do it by yourself. And that's totally fine. For those that want to kind of like work into larger scale stuff, like just be willing to get yourself onto sets for little to no money or whatever for the first little bit, and just understand that like it's going to be hard. It's long days, it's challenging work, it's sometimes feels like thankless work, but the people that are making the decisions and are in the space successfully notice people that come out with really good attitudes. And like, even for myself, when I'm like doing my own productions and putting together crews of whatever, it's like for a lot of positions, it's like I will hire people based on their vibes and how they are on set and how their attitude can be over a few days over talent.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, just that aspect of like, even school can help develop communities of people that also can just be people that you can like thrive off of each other. You can learn from each other. You can maybe see how somebody else is doing something and learn to either do that same thing or do it better. And I think that can get it can sometimes get tricky, I feel, with like people, because you'll find the line between like, oh, where I'm want to learn from somebody or where I'm being like jealous of somebody and their abilities. So I think some people have maybe like that side of it, but I think community, especially in a creative space, is like a very vital part, would you say, of developing your craft and your skill.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast this week.
No worries.
And I'm sure we'll have you back for another episode.
Sweet.
Maybe multiple, who knows?
Multiple.
Yeah,
Holy.
we'll see. Well, maybe we'll get you back with somebody else.
Oh, okay, cool.
Pull two special guests together that won't know who each other
I'll
are.
pick my enemy. I'll find an enemy.
Yeah,
I'll come up with somebody.
Yeah,
probably somebody from hockey, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's where the aggression comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for joining us today on Coffee and Creatives. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.